Okay, picture this: secret plots, international intrigue, and a plan that could shake up a major nuclear power. Now, this isn't the plot of the latest spy movie. This is a real-life drama playing out in India right now. And at the very center of it all, one American man. So who is this guy? Well, he calls himself a freedom fighter. But India's top counter-terror agency, they have a much, much darker name for him: terrorist. And that's the big mystery we're going to try and unpack here. And turns out, he's not alone. In total, India's National Investigating Agency, that's the NIA, has arrested 7 foreign nationals. You've got 6 from Ukraine, and then you have the American we're focusing on. Look, these are not minor charges we're talking about. They've all been booked under something called the UAPA, the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. This is basically India's toughest, most stringent anti-terror law. It's reserved for threats against the country's actual sovereignty. So yeah, the allegations are about as serious as they get. So who is this American sitting in an Indian jail facing terrorism charges? His name is Matthew Van Dyke, and his story? Well, it's complicated, to say the least. And this is really the heart of the matter. On one hand, you have the story Van Dyke tells about himself. He's a journalist, an activist, a documentary filmmaker. But on the other hand, Indian authorities are painting a completely different, far more sinister picture. They say he's a mercenary, an insurgent, and maybe even a spy, sent to cause chaos in the region. You know, his background is anything but ordinary. If you look at his past decade, it reads like a world tour of modern war zones. Back in 2011, he was in Libya fighting against Gaddafi and was even captured as a prisoner of war. After that, he was involved in the Syrian civil war. And then a few years later, he's in Iraq fighting against ISIS. You start to see a very clear pattern here. And this isn't just some freelance thing. He actually went and founded his own organization called Sons of Liberty International. Its official mission? To provide training and assistance to groups fighting what he describes as oppressive governments. So, in essence, he runs his own private company that trains insurgent fighters. Now, with a resume like that, you can probably guess what people have accused him of for years: being a CIA agent. I mean, it's a pretty wild coincidence how he just happens to show up in all these hotspots that are central to U.S. foreign policy. He's always denied it, of course. He once claimed he tried to join but failed the lie detector test, a denial that for some people just makes the whole thing even more suspicious. So how does a guy with his long history in the Middle East end up in a jail cell in India? Well, this is where we get to the alleged plot, which targets one of India's most strategically sensitive regions. The entire alleged conspiracy hinges on this one specific place, the Siliguri corridor, which is often called the Chicken's Neck. Just look at it. It's this incredibly narrow strip of land, the only thing connecting mainland India to its 8 northern eastern states. For India, this corridor is an absolute strategic lifeline. Any hostile activity here is seen as a major, major threat. So according to the NIA, the plan was pretty straightforward. First, Van Dyke and his team allegedly snuck into restricted northeastern states, places like Assam and Mizoram, without the proper permits. From there, they supposedly crossed the border into Myanmar to link up with insurgent groups who are hostile to India. And then comes the biggest allegation, that they provided these groups with drones and weapons training to wage war against the Indian state. As you can imagine, when you have an American accused of arming rebels right on India's border, it stops being a simple criminal case pretty fast. This has all the ingredients for a major international incident. And that is exactly what seems to be happening. These arrests are creating some serious waves in diplomatic circles, potentially setting the stage for a real standoff between the US and India. Now, this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. Some experts are starting to wonder if this could all lead to a very high-stakes prisoner swap. Think about it. India is holding Matthew Van Dyke for alleged terrorism. Meanwhile, the U.S. is holding an Indian national, Nikhil Gupta, for allegedly plotting an assassination on American soil. You have 2 citizens held by 2 otherwise friendly countries on incredibly serious charges. It feels like a geopolitical chess game, and these 2 guys might just be the most important pieces on the board. And the reactions are already coming in. Ukraine has made a formal demand for the release of its 6 citizens. At the same time, the U.S. ambassador to India just had a high-level meeting with India's national security advisor. Now, they haven't said what they talked about, but the timing is pretty telling, isn't it? So with all the players in position and the stakes this high, where does this story go from here? For the time being, all 7 of them are still in custody. The NIA is going through everything, especially analyzing their mobile phones, trying to piece together the full picture of what they were allegedly planning. A lot of the key evidence is probably still waiting to be uncovered.
And that leaves us with this one final, really unsettling question. Is Matthew Van Dyke just a lone adventurer who got in way over his head? Or are we seeing the first signs of something much, much bigger? A new kind of covert shadow war being fought in one of the most volatile regions of the world?